Uh, Good afternoon and welcome to this webinar on the industry-sponsored MS by Research at IIIT Hyderabad. I'm Ramesh Loganathan. I'm a faculty here at IIIT Hyderabad, and I also kind of curating this whole program, the part-time industry MS. And today we have with us Professor Kishore Kothapalli, the Dean of Academics, been with IIIT for a very, very long time and has also been the Dean of Academics for the last almost 3 years now. And we're going to be talking about the recently announced industry-sponsored part-time MS by Research. So Kishore, welcome to the webinar.
Thanks to all the welcome to all the participants. Good afternoon. So let's start.
Yes. So Kishore, just to set the context again, not many people know what kind of curriculum and pedagogy we have. Can you talk a little bit about our research-led? What are the programs and the research-led programs as a context?
All right. So IIIT Hyderabad, we call ourselves as a research university, so that most programs, including the undergraduate, the curriculum and pedagogy is delivered or is kind of curated towards enabling them to do research even from the early courses onwards. More particularly, if you look at the Master of Science by Research program, this is a very research-driven program where they do very few courses, in fact, just 6 courses that also help them establish some research depth in what they want to do, but also end up doing a substantial thesis as part of the program requirement. In fact, almost half the time or more is spent on the thesis work, and the thesis is the big outcome of this program. So every year we admit almost 60 odd students into this program. When after one semester of coursework, they figure out what kind of problems they want to solve, what kind of research areas they want to get into. They match up with an advisor who is essentially a faculty member at IIIT Hyderabad and work closely with them for the remaining time of their program, trying to let us say, formulate ideas, formulate problems, solve them, write, let us say, or build systems, write papers, present them, and basically trying to essentially get the peer group notice this work in the sense that, yes, this is a substantial improvement from the state of the art in that problem, right? So that is the structure of the Master of Science by Research program.
So why do we consider, I know we often refer to it as a flagship program, right? Why do we consider that to be a flagship program?
So these students, along with the PhD students, form the bulk of the research man. And on top of it, because our undergraduate education is also research driven, those add the heft to the overall research output. So undergraduate students may not be spending long amounts of time every semester on research, but these people and PhD students essentially spend long amount of time on their research area, on their research problem. So therefore, these people add significantly to the numbers or basically the number of people who can help advance our research. So therefore, we consider that these people form a bulk of our
research
ecosystem.
And this is the second degree of a dual degree program, right?
Correctly. I mean, if you start with as an undergraduate student in the 5-year program, after 4 years of undergraduate, they automatically move to this Master of Science program. Whereas we also admit directly into the Master of Science program. These are people who have done an undergrad elsewhere and might have worked for 1 or 2 years elsewhere also. But they want to get a graduate degree that is beyond just a coursework-driven degree. This is more hands-on, more researchy. So this is for them as a graduate program.
So this is that brings to the question. So the difference between this and the MTech program, we also have a regular MTech program.
Correct.
The difference between this and the MTech program is?
See, the MTech program is structured as an upskilling program in terms of their ability to understand broad areas of computer science. Right. So, for example, the typical MTech student might have done an undergraduate program, let us imagine computer science or whatever, and they want to learn a little bit more about various other, various topics within computer science. Right. So, therefore, they do a breadth of courses. In fact, they do almost like a dozen or more courses, starting from data structures, algorithms, advanced algorithms, distributed systems, and so on and so forth. Whereas in the MS program, it is completely the opposite. This is for the depth, right? So they do very little coursework. In fact, just 6 courses. And out of the 6, we expect that they do 3 or 4 in one particular area. For example, if you want to specialize in, let us say, algorithms, you can pick 4 courses in algorithms like advanced algorithms, complexity theory, or parallel algorithms, and so on and so forth, which will help you establish a kind of depth within that area. So that your ability to do research in that area improves as part of the coursework.
That is the MS research.
That is the MS by research.
So few courses geared towards the research area,
depth,
as opposed to MTech, which is a breadth. You do many courses
and not too much depth.
Okay, so that brings us to this program, right? What's the genesis of this industry-sponsored part-time MS by research? Well, what is the program first? Just quickly introduce the program. What is the industry-sponsored part-time MS by research program?
Okay. So, I think one way to basically think about it is to allow for industry professionals to also participate in our academic programs, at least even in the research space also. See, we have a postgraduate program for industry professionals, which is called as PGSSP, where they do a little bit of courses here and there, and eventually they can build up to an MTech degree.
So it's not towards a degree. They can take the courses and use it if they want towards a degree later.
But this program is more tailored towards people who are trying to get into research.
So it's they sign up for the degree.
Sign up for the degree in this case, and we also treat them as practically our own MTech, our own MS students, except that they are on a slower pace because they already have a working day job. We want to imagine that they will not be able to take a large number of courses every semester. So we say that they take 1 or 2 courses every semester, build up their depth, and eventually move to the thesis part of the field. And another way to look at it is that, see, when we talk about research, we have to kind of imagine where are these research problems coming from, right? So some of them come from very purely natural academic settings, but there is an equally important industry research and contemporary research, applied research that is very important or equally important. Now, this program, we believe, will help our faculty and the students to get connected to that applied research or industry-driven research, where the student in this program and the faculty member here, with additionally maybe a mentor from the current organization they work, will be able to formulate good industry-driven or applied research problems, solve them as part of that program, and say that, look, this is our contribution to the research ecosystem.
So that's an interesting angle. I mean, the fact that we're getting people with experience, which normally doesn't happen in research in India. They generally, they finish undergrad, postgrad, and get into research. So that's an important angle for us, right? From the institute, that experience coming in systems building experience.
Systems building, and also being able to step into applied research rather than completely focusing on pure academic research. Both are important. So we are not trying to say one is bigger than the other, but it helps our faculty also to know what is happening in the other side, so that they also be able to pose better questions, more relevant questions, and add value to their research, add impact to their research, societal.
So when you say reduce coursework, I mean, coursework, of course, they can do, one thing I know we relax is like they don't have to finish all the coursework upfront. They can do concurrent with the thesis work, so they can run in parallel a little bit. And but what is the course requirement? I know normal MS research requires 6 courses. What is the change that we've instituted for this part-time program?
So our philosophy is that we did not want to somehow create 2 different programs. So these are exactly the same programs. Students in both programs do exactly the same number of credits in terms of earned by coursework as well as earned by thesis. That is 6 courses is what we do in this program. The relaxation we provided is that one of the 6 courses can be a project-driven course where the student and the faculty members sign up on some deliverable that, okay, in 4-month semester time frame, we develop this project and that counts as a course. So this additional flexibility allows them to somehow for the students also to get into the mode of projects aligned with their eventual goal of the thesis, so they can slowly ramp up towards the thesis. Right? So that is the additional
So that is that the course is on rigid time. There's only time they have to be on like 2 classes a week. They have to come to the campus. The project and the thesis work, they can work with their advisor.
Flexibly scheduled in
with their advisor, they can figure it out.
Correct. If it is a course, then every course meets 2 times a week at whatever posted times. Right? I mean, these don't vary by week. Every week it is the same time.
So 16 weeks
16,
plus the midterm.
13 weeks of course plus exams and
2-3 weeks of other things. So 16 weeks they have to plan for those 2 classes a week, 1.5 hours each.
Whereas if it is a project-based course, then the scheduling with respect to discussions with the faculty advisor, etc., can be done when both are mutually available, rather than the strict, course-like schedule.
So that's 4 courses and 1 or 2 projects. And one project is going to be thesis scoping project.
Right. That is like lead them to the thesis so that they slowly get on to the actual thesis problem.
Which normally happens because they're on campus, they can do it with the professors. Since they're not on campus, we're doing it that way. One project is going to be a thesis scoping, mini project is going to be a thesis scoping course.
That is the plan we have.
Yeah, so that then we expect them to do that in the first or second semester.
Sorry. So by 2 semesters, so that they also test what is happening, get their feedback.
So by the time they finish this thesis scoping project, they're ready for the thesis work.
Correct.
So that because they've identified what to do and they have an advisor.
One of the summers, maybe after 2 semesters, when you get a summer break like what we're doing right now, we hope that the summer break can be used to, discuss what do they want to do as part of the thesis, formulate the problem, the scope, the plan, and everything, what is required, and who gets to do what and where. So that by the time the semester starts in August, they are ready to
take up courses towards the thesis. First 1 or 2 courses may be little broader. They have identified the thesis by then. So the next 2 courses will be towards the thesis.
Towards the thesis, towards building the depth in that area, or even partly work on the thesis while they do 1 course. So all this is possible.
Okay. Now that brings us to what are these research areas that we that one could consider?
Well, IIIT Hyderabad, as you know, works in many research areas. In fact, pretty much most of computer science and electronics, and even areas where computing is applied to other domains. So we have faculty working in many areas, including computational linguistics or computational science or even traditional areas of computing, but of course AI/ML heavily involved, right? So even within ECE, we have a strong group in IoT and systems or even robotics. So there is wide variety actually. In fact, we are about 120 faculty, which means that there are at least 70 areas that we
in effect, the way academic research works, there are 120 research groups.
Right.
In about 70 sub-areas in 25 broad areas.
Correct.
Yeah. So it covers a very broad spectrum.
Yes,
virtually any area of information technology, we probably have some work happening.
Yes.
Okay. So that is
we are currently hosting a conference on software architecture, and that group itself has 3 or 4 people. Right? And so
Yes. The international conference on software architecture. Yes. So how does one pick before? Please, anybody, if you have any questions, you can just post it on the comments. Srikanth requests you to track the questions and then just read it out when they come up. But we'll just take a few more questions here, discussion, and then we'll take up questions from the audience. So how does one pick the advisor, Kishore? Once they say, okay, this broadly, this is the research area we want to work in, how does it work after that? How will they pick the advisor and the problem?
So, we follow a very, free methodology, right? So ideally, it is a 2-step process, right? Because the student has to, first of all, realize, okay, this is the area I want to work in. It could be theoretical computer science or systems or robotics or AI, whatever it is, right? So what we expect students to do is do a bit of homework in terms of, understanding what are the projects going on in that space, who are the people working in that space within campus, and meet such people, right? We are a very open, kind of open office model where anybody can set up a meeting with somebody just by writing an email, etc. Talk to the students who work in that lab or group as well, get an understanding of what kind of projects are going on, right? And discuss with them and see what is happening around that space. We also have other opportunities like the R&D showcase and other open house events where practically anybody can come and observe what is going on. So this additional knowledge will help them somehow kind of formulate their thoughts into good buckets, right? Okay, this is what I want to do. And these are the people who work in the related space. So these are the people I want to talk to and engage with them, figure out what their interests are, how do these two align with something. Now, this discursive nature, we allow for this to run for a couple of months during the semester itself. And at the end of it, we hope that every interested student will be able to pair up with every interested advisor. Now, we don't even, artificially limit how many students can an advisor pick or work with.
So just based on mutual interest and background.
Based on mutual interest, right? So, and of course, it is possible that you want to work in a particular area and that group doesn't have enough positions open right now. So it is always good to keep a backup plan, right? Because everyone's plans for 1 semester or 1 year or 2 years in the future are always, may not be aligning with what your plans are. So it is important to keep at least 1 or 2 areas in mind as a first choice and a second choice, so that if you don't get what you want as your first choice, you are quickly able to move on to what you can get as your second choice. So other than that, there is no institutional mechanism to say that student X will work with advisor Y.
So it's a free kind of
free market
process.
Yes,
yeah. But given that they are from the industry, we will have some advisors for them before they pick their advisor. In the first semester, somebody who they can talk to.
Right.
Will enable somebody who they can talk to.
That is more at a broader level, at a program level, trying to tell them what are the requirements, how do courses work here, what is the evaluation model, especially when somebody might be away from a campus setting for a long while. It takes a little bit of transition to get into the habit of sitting in classes and writing exams and doing homework, etc. So that kind of guidance and mentoring
there will be one faculty made available to them. Because even to figure out who to go talk to or like what areas to consider. So we'll have some program faculty that's the program coordinator for this program. Okay. So that brings to the last question. How does this compare? I know you touched upon it earlier, but just to answer the question on everybody's mind. So this is not an executive program. This is not a program that is customized, meaning in any way for them. So how does it compare with a regular MS research program?
So in terms of difference in the program and outcomes, we don't believe there is any difference.
Same structure, same
except
outcomes.
that the time duration.
We are allowing part-time.
We're allowing part-time, and therefore we allow longer duration for a student to complete this program compared to an in-campus full-time student, because they are here full day. These people are not available full day. So that's why we expect that these people will take a little more time to do the same amount of work for the program. And that's why we just extend the timeline. Otherwise, there is no difference.
So identical program.
They
do the same thing.
Even the degree will not have any difference.
Same degree, same convocation.
Same transcript, same convocation. Everything is
identical. Just that they have part-time so they can take a little longer to finish.
But again, to mention, the nature of this program called part-time does not appear on the transcript either.
Yes, the degree is a regular MS
degree, transcript, everything
it's just a more, we are allowing them a longer time. That's all it is. Yeah, I think it's an important point. So part-time is only a more, the degree is MS medicine. That's only a degree. They get the exact same degree. So that's a good clarification. So Shrikant, if there are any questions, you could just read it out for us.
Yes, sir. We have a question on the YouTube. What is the duration for industry-sponsored MS that I have shared in the brochure? And the other question is how to choose thesis area.
How to choose?
Thesis area.
Okay, we'll just clarify on the duration anyway. So we are saying 3 years is what we think it will take for most people. If they use the summers effectively and don't take a break in between, they could finish in 2.5 years. Pushing it 2.5 years, but 3 years is what most people we expect, right? They can finish in 3 years. If you don't take a break, that is. If you take a break, it's a break. If you don't take a break, in 3 years, they should be able to complete. Okay. So that's the duration. And the thesis, I know we touched a little bit on it, but how do they pick a thesis area? A little bit more on that.
So when you pick your early courses, especially when we say the first term or second term, when you start doing courses, you should pick courses that essentially is a superset of what your interests are. So that, as I mentioned, you should have a first choice, second choice. So you should possibly spread out a little bit beyond what your only goal is.
Go little broader.
Go
in
little
picking
broader.
the first course, pick little
Exactly.
broader. Okay.
See, there is a big advantage in doing so. Usually, most faculty advisors or potential faculty advisors would like to see the student perform in their class in terms of how they do the project, how they do the homework, etc. Before they also commit to become an advisor, because it's a two-way commitment. So when you do such a class and do well, it builds that kind of what do you call let us say contact, or or mutual knowledge, or mutual understanding about each other. How do we evaluate the student, and even for students to know how does this faculty work, or is it like a suitable potential advisor, etc. So to kind of check each other out in some sense, right? So that way, if you pick your first 2 or 3 courses a little broader, that will give you the initial seeds to be able to talk to these people or their students or so on and so forth, so that you can kind of slowly filter out certain options and stick and finally settle on one or two options.
That is a very important point. So keep the first one little broad, so it doesn't limit your options who you could talk to. And then that's the first term or first course. And then ideally they should have some idea which area they want to work on, preferably when they come in itself. It can't be too broad, because it's linked to in some ways to their current work, current function, current product. So it'll be good that somewhere in the first semester they narrow it down. So at least the broad is saying I want to do it in computer vision, or I want to do it in software engineering architectures. At least at that level, they should narrow down by the first semester itself.
A full-time MS student, they do 3 courses in the first semester.
Before they decide.
So they get to kind of play with 3 choices. So here they are getting to play with only one choices. So they should be more structured in what they explore.
They should be more aware of their interests and possibilities. Yeah, so they should be more aware of interests and possibilities. So second semester, ideally, they should at least know which area they're in. So even if they don't know the thesis problem, they can just take a course in that area. And by then, hopefully, end of the second semester, they've identified the thesis problem. Okay. So, Srikanth, any other questions?
Yeah. What is the procedure to join for this course? And the next question is, after completing the course, can I attend the placements in IIIT?
Okay, first one, we'll take the first one. How do they get admitted? The process to get into the course.
Did we roll out the application form?
We have an interest form right now. And we said once we take the interest form, we'll mail them the application link.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So that is the answer. I think there is a pre-application
form. There's the interest form and then the application link.
Application form, and there will be little scrutiny based on the kind of
the criteria. Yeah. And simple criteria, we said they have to be science or engineering degree, 1 year work experience, tech industry.
And be located in
Hyderabad.
Because they have to attend the
physical classes.
At least for the term they do courses, it is important to be within Hyderabad.
So those are the primary criteria. And then there is no other exam or interview. Based on this, it's basic filtering and they get selected. And then they get into the program. And then they get a conditional admission. They finish 2 courses, it will get converted to a regular admission. Okay. So I think that clarifies. Simple application process, basic filtering, immediately get conditional admission, start taking courses. After 2 courses, that conditional admission will get converted to a regular admission.
But I think I want to add one more thing. So in case the conditional admission doesn't get converted to a full admission, these credits can be used for
any other program
degree programs that we offer. For example, if you build enough credits, you can get an MTech.
MTech also. Yeah. Yes.
The student status will not be.
So the student status will remain. The MS admission may not get confirmed if they don't complete the course. Yeah. Right. So there's a good clarification. So student status means they can take courses. Continue to take courses. It's just that it is not towards a degree program. But once they accumulate enough credits, they can opt for a degree program and get the degree. But to get the MS admission, they have to finish 2 courses in 2 semesters for it to become a regular MS admission. So, and then the second point was on the placements. So I can help. The reason we're hesitating a little bit is like, This is a company industry-sponsored program. So there's a company involved who has given a letter for them. So while we would not have any problem with having them go to placements, we just have to keep this in mind that the companies are sponsored. So the answer is yes and no. In principle, yes. So long as the company, we have to figure out the company angle because they're coming through a company. If company doesn't have a problem, we don't have a problem. We can have them because, like Kishore has told repeatedly, this program is exactly same as our regular MS research program, which is our master or flagship program. And so they would qualify to sit in the placements. We just take out this minor thing about companies kind of as company as sponsored. Subject to that being taken care of, there's no issue joining placements. Next question, Srikanth.
Yeah. Am I eligible for this course if I have 1 year of experience in the industry and going to resign the job and continue the completely focus on the course?
We haven't thought of it. We need a letter from the company because this program is, see, one of the key elements. Kishore touched upon it, a joint co-advising. We haven't discussed it enough. We want the industry company to be a part of the thesis work, but it's not mandatory. And it's not that you start with that and you have to stick to that for the next 3 years. But we would like a co-advisor from the industry. So full-time, they should consider other programs. This is not meant to be a full-time program. Right, Kishore?
Yes.
This is meant to be industry-sponsored part-time.
Yes, I think as Ramesh said, right, one of the main features of this program is that there is an advisor at the current organization of the student, and there is an advisor within IIT Hyderabad. So the team is at least 3 people, it sounds right. So the reason for such a composition is to allow for the industry and the IIT Hyderabad to explore problems that are of mutual interest, right? For example, our colleagues want to know what is happening in the industry. And I'm sure industry seniors would like to know what is happening on the other side of the spectrum, right? And therefore, the student is like the bridge between these two ends.
Yes.
And it is therefore important that this program is viewed for working professionals who are in the early stages of their career. And this degree will also help them move up in the company, etc. Acquire very good technology skills, problem-solving skills, research skills, etc. So that is the intention of this program. But if you do have good work experience and you are wanting to quit the job and come to academics full time, that is always possible. We have our own regular MS program that is, that admits both in July and December. So, that is still possible.
Yes, and that's very much possible. Or you could come and start working with the professor if you're going to quit, and then at some point later apply for an MS research. There's a standing committee admission process. That's another option. If you're working with the professor for 6 to 12 months, there's another way somebody could get into a master's program. Full-time, check out other options. I'm happy to meet. Most welcome to just send a note to any of us, send a note to me, Ramesh. I'll be happy to talk and explain some of the other options. But this program itself is meant to be for those that are working. So the company's co-advisor, joint advisor is an important aspect of this program design. So next one, Srikanth.
Question is about the food. How is the mess food in the IIIT?
I mean, we are both faculty here. Of course, we will say it is very good, but the good thing is that we all eat the same food. Our faculty dining, the food comes from our mess. We believe it is good. And most of our students, when they're here, of course, like anywhere, they're not too thrilled with it. But alums always come back raving about the food, right? Invariably. I think the food is good. So not to worry. But you are coming only for 2 classes a week. You may not even need to eat here. You're most welcome to have, because you'll be a regular student. You can eat in the mess, you can go to the library. You can do everything our regular student does. But you're coming for 2 classes a week. Each class is 1.5 hours. So it's not a necessity that you have to eat here. But you're most welcome. Next one, Srikanth. Srikanth, any more questions?
One second.
Okay, there were some questions that came in some of the companies that we've been going and having kind of interaction with the. So one of the things that came was like, what time is during the coursework? Those 4 courses, 4 or 5 courses. Apart from the classwork, how much time does one need to plan for to do the assignments and labs and such?
So I expect that most of these courses do not have a scheduled lab as such. There will be lab work in terms of writing programs.
Activities that they need to do. Yeah.
But those they
not
can
necessarily
do,
in a lab, they can do on their own time.
In a particular scheduled window. They can do it whenever they have free time. But most courses will have some mixture of
assignments and
project, lab work, etc. Lab work, as I meant, is not scheduled. It is more like, lab
you have
work.
To build something and submit. Yeah.
To write programs, you have to build systems or missing pieces, etc. So for one course, I would expect maybe another 4 to 5 hours.
4 to 5 hours a week.
Apart from the
class work. Okay. So total we around 8-9 hours, including the lectures, 8-9 hours per week. 3 hours on schedule. Correct. Another 5 to 6 hours for the assignments.
And, some weeks there will be more work, some weeks there will be less work. But on average, you should imagine 5 to 6 hours of work per week beyond the lecture.
And then, and roughly in the 16-week term, 13 weeks of lectures and 3 weeks of other things.
3 weeks.
Holidays, midterm.
So there'll be usually at least 2 sit-in evaluations. So either one quiz and one mid-exam, or one mid-exam and one final. And whatever combination the faculty wants
us to have. Yeah. And the other one is like, when they go to the thesis mode, what would typical time expectation be in terms of meetings, actual activity and such different types of activity during the thesis work terms?
If it is going at a good pace, I would imagine one meeting a week of 1 hour, 2 hour duration should be enough to plan for the coming week. Right? And they can maybe spend 15 or so hours over the week to make progress.
And typically, would there be support from the lab professors, other students in that phase?
Yes.
They would be able to leverage others, and the professor will also support.
In fact, even during coursework also, all our courses are on the Moodle, right, the LMS system, and each course has its own discussion forum. So if you are in trouble, if you are stuck at some point, you could write in the discussion forum. Usually our students are up whole night. At least somebody is up whole night. So somebody will respond. So I think that learning from peers is heavily encouraged and part of our system. In fact, staying on campus, that's one big advantage. Of course, we don't expect these people to stay on campus, but virtually they are on campus 24/7. Right?
So they could take help from others, and others are willing to help.
Yes, and all these work even outside of the campus. Even though this is a URL, it is not limited to our campus wall or whatever. By using good whatever VPN kind of things, they can actually use this discussion forum, etc., from anywhere in the world. Once they get our login and other things, they're set for 24/7 access.
Okay, that's good. Especially when they're working, they may have other schedules during the day, so it allows. And important point, our regular students are all up in the night. Their work day probably starts after dinner, after 9:30, and so so that works wherever you're in the world. That time works to get peer group help. So that's good. Srikanth, any further questions? We have another about 6-7 minutes.
Yes, sir. Having a long career gap background in ECE. Currently, I'm working in embedded systems domain with a startup. I'm eligible to join.
Absolutely. I mean, like we are big proponents of return to work and such. For whatever reason, there's a career gap, male or female. And if you're working, I don't think there's going to be any problem. Even if you're still in the gap, also may not have been a problem. But anyway, working, there should not be a problem. Right, Kishore?
Yes, certainly.
Yeah. And we value the experience. A gap is a gap, doesn't matter. The experience will always remain.
Is it mandatory to have a co-advisor from the company?
Not mandatory.
Not mandatory, but we expect that a large majority will have it, because one of the intentions is to kind of sample what is happening on the other side, right? So,
and these need not be a company problem. I don't think there'll be any problem, because we don't expect too much time from the co-advisor. Half an hour, 1 hour a week at most. And once in a month or so, meet with the faculty advisor, even if it's online. It's not much of a time commitment. And they need not pick a problem for the company for this, right? It could be any problem. We prefer a co-advisor. The problem need not be from the company.
In fact, I think there is in the brochures, we also mentioned who owns the IP, etc.
Yes.
In some limited sense. So we are not very particularly rigid about it.
Yes. If it's company's problem, they take the IP. They can more easily advise.
Correct.
If it's not company's problem, you like an advisor. Though it's not mandatory, but we prefer that there be an advisor.
Yes.
So if somebody is hesitating, we'll be happy. One of us get on a call to convince them why they should be an advisor if they're hesitating.
And also look at the modalities. What happens
Yes.
if the problem that the company currently is working on versus they don't have any like a long-standing or near-term, short-term interest in the problem.
Yes. So when we prefer it, it's company's problem and definitely in company's area of interest, but it's not binding. But somebody, an advisor from the company is always desirable, strongly desirable. Next question, Srikanth.
Yeah, I am a local to Hyderabad, but my company is there in another state. Can I have a chance to get admission in this course if my company allows?
Yes. I think being local to Hyderabad is in the context of being able to attend classwork when it is set up.
Yes.
Right. Otherwise, you could have been anywhere in the entire world. Actually, right?
Yes. So it's only about the physical classes. Otherwise, location, we don't have any constraint. During the thesis work, it's between the person and the person's advisor. Most advisors okay to do online interactions and such. They would like to meet once a month or so, but not every week. It's up between them and the advisor. The 4 courses or 5 courses that they take, that's the only time they have to be here for that semester, 3.5 months. They have to be here physically. Otherwise, physical presence is not required. Definitely, the company need not be from Hyderabad. Company could be anywhere.
Yes,
we just need the company to be part of the process. That's all.
Yeah. And one more question is contact details or email ID if any.
On the web page, we have an outreach email ID or admissions office. There are 2 email IDs they could reach out to. And this program being the first time and is also for the industry, we're also going and having interactions in the companies. So if your company has a lot of people interested, just please send a mail saying that you'd like an interaction. One of us will come, myself, Kishore, our PG chair, Professor PK, and 1 or 2 others. We are willing to come. I've already gone to a few companies. So if there are more people interested, we can do an interaction at your company itself. But otherwise, the web page has the email IDs to reach out to.
Yeah, already our team has mentioned the email ID in the chat box.
Oh, good. Yeah. Any further questions, Srikanth?
Not yet, sir.
Okay, so I think that brings us with just 2 minutes to close. So anything else you'd like to add to those interested? I think anything they need to think of before they think of applying? Some few things you said, tips or tricks or warnings. I think they should be mindful of before applying.
Warnings, really. I think, everyone who has a interest in research should be able to thrive in the program. Right? I think it is about our interest in problem solving that takes us through it. Right? So, I think it is a program where you can earn or you can learn very valuable research skills.
And deep.
Yes, right? And in fact, for full-time students going through this program, the outcomes at the end of the program are very, very, spectacular, actually, right? For example, they either end up, they start as like a good mid-level position in a research lab or the product company teams, right? Or when if they are more academically bent, they end up going for a PhD. And our experience, our numbers is that roughly a third of them end up doing a PhD. Graduating from the MS program. So others go on to the.
And they all get, if I remember right, very, very good admissions.
Yes.
Because their research publications are so good.
Yes.
They end up getting very good admissions.
Correct. And in fact, the publications at the end of this thesis is currently like a very good indicator of success
the
of
quality of the program.
Right? And every year I think we get almost 100 odd top class papers out of students in this program. And they go present their work wherever in the world this conference is. We have our own travel grants committee to enable that to happen. So that big ecosystem and,
to support.
Yes, support environment to let these students excel.
Mhm. And one more point, which I'm sure it's on some people's minds at least, in terms of, you must have seen, especially with the PGSSP program, working professionals doing our courses. In general, how do they fare compared to the average of the class?
No, they're doing very well.
They do well. So it's not hard for them to do well.
It is not a handicap, and that's why we limit the number of credits they do in the semester.
So that they don't overload themselves and struggle. Yeah.
We realize they have a day job, right? And we also expect them to attend this class during the day.
Yes.
So we don't want to.
So we allow at most two in a semester.
Which is about 6 hours in a
classwork. Yeah.
In a week of classwork. And most people don't do beyond that. I mean, in fact, they don't want to do beyond that.
And we also don't want
to push them beyond that. But in fact,
2 courses, they can do well.
They can do well. And interestingly, even without formally kind of doing this program, we realized that about 5 such students every year actually convert to the MS program. And
while they still haven't quit their jobs, even as they continue to work. Yeah.
So
that's a very good data.
So that means that, there is interest in such programs. We are just trying to catalyze that a little bit more so that at the beginning itself, they kind of get.
They're coming in, thinking about this. Yes. They're not just that they think later. Right now, they're coming thinking of the masters. Yeah, that's a good thing. So, and then so their performance is similar to the class, so which is good to know. They load, they don't struggle, because if they show up in their performance if they're struggling.
Cap their loads.
So both ways it's okay. Not being in academic, it's not a handicap. And then also the time is not a handicap. I know from our side, professors value them. I think that's something they need to understand. I won't leave it on that note. If you can just reiterate again, you touched upon it once. Why would professors value this more than, of course, they value the regular students, but this is something unique. They would look forward to this.
As I said, right? Research has multiple flavors, right? And one is more academic research, which is like impact in traditional ways, like papers and articles and things like that. Whereas there is another end of the spectrum where we want research to be very societally relevant and very, very impactful within the community, whatever, right? And oftentimes, it is good to be able to navigate the spectrum smoothly, right? And that way you can kind of feed off each other, right? If you are stuck in one end of the spectrum, you don't know what is happening on the other side. And that will make it difficult in the long term to be able to continue doing it again and again and again. But a whiff of fresh air from the other side will help you formulate better problems.
And this is not a passing, it is somebody who's going to be working with them for the next 2 years or more.
2 years or more.
So it's a more substantial and not just a passing insight.
Yeah, right. And of course, currently, if you observe, there is a lot of systems work that is getting done in industry, which is very good top-class research work. It's just that,
we don't know. Academics doesn't know of,
completely aware of these things.
Yes.
So,
and also in the AI world, the quality of data and problems and insights. Industry has lots of it. We often have to synthesize or go scrape sources and get. They have real data with real. That's also highly valuable, especially in the current AI world.
Right, and of course that doesn't mean there is only one way this benefit is kind of percolating. Even for industry leaders, right?
They get the research.
It's important to know what is the next decade likely to be.
Yes.
And that usually is what academics are more interested in. Right? They are interested in problems of the next decade, not really immediate tomorrow, day after, etc. But when they both work together, there is a good mix of matching the requirements and doing something which is useful for both sides.
No, absolutely. I think it's a fantastic win-win proposition. I'm really looking forward to the current applications list is very healthy.
Okay.
Very good number of applications already. And going by our criteria, since we're not planning to filter much, most of them are going to get selected. We hope at least a good number of them join.
Yes.
And so looking forward to it. Thank you so much, Kishore.
Thank you.
I think it's good. So Kishore Kothapalli, Dean of Academics at Tripedi, Hyderabad, was just talking about the industry-sponsored part-time MS by Research program. And thank you for everybody that joined us today. I know most of you that joined respond to a few other campaigns or posts that we put out. So hopefully this has helped you get better clarity on the program. Looking forward to having all of you in the program. Thank you so much, and Shrika, thanks for the support. Kishore, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Ramesh. And as Ramesh mentioned, if you have enough interest in your company, etc., we'll be able to do one such session in your organization.
In the company itself. We'll be happy to come. The last date we have extended already. We had initially said 15th of the month. We realized that many companies need time to process, onboard the program for reimbursements and such. So we've extended the time till end of the month. So we'll be happy to come. One of us will be happy to come for an interaction. So thank you so much, and thanks, Kishore.
Yeah, thanks, Ramesh.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah, bye-bye.